live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. We are on a bushwalk here in the middle of the northeast corner of South Africa, and you are watching Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
Right, well, my name is James Hendry, and I'm going to be on the walk end of this sort of very slightly subdued Saturday sunset safari. I say slightly subdued because it's nice and warm, and it's just got a very relaxed weekendish feeling about things today. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us. That's on Twitter. Craig is on camera today. He's unable to show you his thumb because he's holding the camera with both hands. He did, however, give you a very friendly nod. Good. On the other vehicle, we have got Tristan. Well, on one vehicle we have Tristan. The other vehicle will have Jamie on it. And in the final control, back on the Vox, is Megan. Very nice to have her back here, all the way from Cape Town, where I hope she didn't leave her brain. Good. Well, there is Tristan going out right now, and he has got a brand new camera with him. I don't think we're allowed to talk about that yet, so pretend I didn't say anything about the new camera. Ha 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 ha. Okay, good. Then we have found a flower. One of the last flowers of the season. This is called a butylon, or the elephant's ear. And I was hoping that there might be some form of insect or arachnid on it, but afraid they have given up on me today, despite the warmth, 27 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And on that note, we're going to send you across all the way to where it is quite warm and steamy by the water with Jamie Butterson.
It is quite warm and steamy, actually, sitting in the sun. It's definitely much, much warmer than when the cool breeze was blowing earlier. And a very good official good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the Sunset Safari, where we're starting off with a creature that has become somewhat unusual on these safaris. And perhaps this heralds the return of the buffalo to the Traverse area that we get to drive around in, and perhaps with them the return of our lion prides. It would also be very, very pleasant in the not-too-distant future. But first, before we talk too much about him, I had better say hello and introduce myself to all of you, because otherwise it's just going to be a disembodied voice. And I can assure you, if the Buffalo Bull could talk, he would not sound anything like me. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Fergus is on camera with me. And we are going to be travelling to the eastern side of our Traverse area, right up to Cheetah Plains. But we've stopped for the moment, because it's always a good idea on a warm afternoon to come and check the local water holes to see what has meandered across to them. And a nice buffalo bull is enjoying the fresh crop of grass from the sort of the spillover from the dam. Nice and fresh and green still. And of course, for these guys, as bulk grazers, the coming seasons are going to be relatively hard on them. As we go into our dry season, there's not that much grass around, and the grass is already getting brown and dried out, and they've still got a long few months till we get to October or November, and the grass will be green again, hopefully, provided that it rains. He's been rubbing his horns on a tree. And the reason that I know that is because he's got all of those brownish patches at the base of his horns, and that's where he's been rubbing his head on the bark, and the bark is stripped away. And they do that partly to be intimidating, a lot of the time, if there's another male around, but also just to get to those hard-to-reach itchy points behind the horns and in the middle of the horns. And that is a serious block of very heavy bone. that sits on the base of his head. Buffalo bulls are basically built like battering rams. And when it comes time to fight for the females, then they clash. You can imagine the impact that something like that would have, because we've lifted up buffalo skulls in the tent before, and I would guess that they easily weigh just the bones in the skull with the horns. I would say easily 12 kilograms, probably more. So over 25 pounds. Now I'll put that on the receiving end of the odd 900 kilograms of animal, traveling at a speed of 15 meters per second at its fastest, and you'll understand just what kind of an impact those horns can have. Shame. And he's got a couple of cuts and scrapes. We were talking about this during the pre-show of the live safari. Hey, old boy. I would say, judging by his tattered ears and his skin, he's not a particularly young buffalo. 10 maybe? Just guessing. Around about there. He's also spent some of the day at least wallowing in the mud. There's the injury. Not a pleasant thing. Oxpeckers are usually so helpful for our animals in that they help to remove all of the ticks that have attached themselves to the skin. But even when there's the tiniest injury like that, they will sit on the back and worry at the edges of the wound because they feed off blood. Most of their diet is ticks, but they feed off blood and mucus as well. Now, Costa V, looking at our patchy buffalo, you want to know why is some of the buffalo's fur missing? And the answer to that is that's very common with buffalo. They often either rub patches away of fur where they've rubbed up against trees, or they have some kind of fungal skin condition. That's also very, very common within buffalo. Or any other kind of parasite-driven skin condition as well. So they do get mange. I don't think this buffalo has mange. I think that's more likely a fungal patch. But it is very common. And I guess wallowing in the mud constantly, probably because that mud is not exactly clean, probably doesn't help all that much, although it will stop the oxpeckers from irritating it. Hello, big boy. Otherwise, he's in tip-top shape. I had almost forgotten just how big buffalo truly are by the end of last year's drought. They really are massive creatures. Last year they were in such bad condition, they were just walking skeletons. This morning, Tristan stopped at a buffalo skeleton that was probably as a result of, or death as a result of the drought. They've got a much better chance this year. All right, well, it seems as though our buffalo bull is having a relatively lazy afternoon. Let's go and find out what James's warthogs are up to.
I have got warthogs here on quarantine. Indeed, they are running now because they heard that we were coming across to us. And so now they are running away as fast as they can. No, they're not quite as fast as they can, but they definitely know they've been spotted. They were sitting in the shade. There's the boar, Craig. There's the big fella. He's saying, where are you going? They've been past us 150 times. They're not going to do any damage. Come back here and let's relax. It's a nice Saturday afternoon. And she's going, you don't know that. You don't know what's going to happen. They're unpredictable, that species. I tell you they are. Come on, children. Let's go. He says, oh, come on, Hilda, darling, let's just stay here in the shade. We've seen them hundreds of times. And as normal, and as should happen, Mother has won, and she has removed the babies to what she feels is a more safe location. Now, it's not entirely usual for them to be in a sort of nuclear family. Often you'll find a sow and 3 babies, or 2 babies, and then another sow and her offspring. And there's not always a boar in tow. So it's not like they're a monogamous species. He will philander away, probably. Marvellous. Can you still see them there, Craig?
Just one of them.
Just one of them. I think that's the ball. A bit lazy. I want to follow his wife. He's going to be in all kinds of trouble. Alrighty. I can see the sow. She's looking at us. She's very discontented indeed. So let's head across to Tristan so that he might greet you in the name of this glorious Saturday afternoon.
Well, good afternoon everybody and welcome to our sunset safari. As James said, my name is Tristan and on camera today I've got Jandre and a very, very warm welcome to all of you, the viewers. So remember, you are the most important part of this and therefore hashtag Safari Live on Twitter if you have any questions. Right, we are going to go check the northern edges of Djuma. We're going to go try and see if maybe, just maybe, the Nkahuma pride has come back towards Djuma, because there was a report this morning that there were tracks coming back towards Sydney's dam, and James thinks that potentially the cubs might still be on Djuma itself. So we're going to go check up that side. If there are no signs there, then we'll slowly head to a couple of the waterholes as it gets a little bit later in the afternoon, and maybe we get lucky with a leopard down at Twin Dams or Treehouse Dam than that area. So that's the kind of plan for the afternoon. I think we're going to head up Sandy Patch Way and just see if there isn't anything there. Now sometimes with the Nkahumas, what they like to do is they like to go into Buffels Hook and then they come back towards Sydney's dam area. They seem to really enjoy that, and then they come into Weirtella from that area. So I want to just go and make sure that they're not lying somewhere there. I don't think anyone actually checked very carefully around that particular section late in the morning, and we know from yesterday when we were following the Nkumas all morning how they walked non-stop the whole morning, so they could have easily walked quite far. Now Jandre, there is a thrush on top of that branch, so there we go. Now you can see it's got its beak open at the moment, and that is a ground scraper thrush. Now these ground scraper thrush, as the name suggests, tend to spend more time on the ground than actually in the air, and so they run around looking for varying food items on the ground itself. And you find when they get disturbed, then they then fly up onto a tree like this and sit tight. The reason why its beak was open is because it's been out in the sunshine, and so that means that it's warmed up quite a bit, and so they then practice gular flutter, which is a way of opening the beak and breathing quite rapidly in order to reduce the temperature within the body. It's much like a dog panting, and so that's why, or the cat's panting, it's the same thing. Now generally the ground scraper thrushes are quite sort of skittish, so to be able to see one out in the open like that is really very, very cool. Nice. Well, that's a good start to our afternoon safari. Hopefully we'll carry on with a good vein of form and we'll get lots of cats to celebrate our cat today. While we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who's got a buffalo that's quenching its thirst.
He was quenching his thirst. He's now quenched, past tense, his thirst. And I'm hoping that he's going to go and find a nice spot to wallow in. And it's something that's very characteristic of these big old buffalo bulls. They like to spend long days reclining in either water or mud, whatever suits them. Now, it's not chilly this afternoon. I've completely forgotten what the temperature's meant to be, but it's warm enough that he might want to go and lie in the water. He seems to be thinking about it. Okay, 25 and 77. It's hotter in the sun. It's probably closer to 30 when we're sitting here in the sun. And when you're big and dark-coloured like a buffalo, that certainly will mean lots of heat and a need to go and cool down. Come on, boy. We'll get rid of those ox pickers on your shoulder as well. Oh, okay. Or not. The number of times we have walked down to this waterhole and not seen a buffalo bull anywhere. They do tend to surprise us. They just come out of nowhere. Violet, yes indeed. Buffalo are the ones that you don't want to encounter on foot. For the most part, they're absolutely fine. And almost all of my buffalo encounters have resulted with the buffalo looking at me with their heads up. And then I walked away and then everything was absolutely fine. And actually, when we talk about them, the buffaloes being the ones we want to avoid, we mean really buffalo bulls like this on their own, because they feel more vulnerable when they're on their own. They feel more threatened, and therefore are less patient, less tolerant, and basically very, very grumpy. And the thing about a buffalo is if it does come at you, there's no real chance that it is a warning charge. Chances are it's a serious charge. Whereas with lions, a lot of the time with elephants, we're going to do the whole safari backwards now. A lot of the time they will stop, and they're really just trying to scare you off. Whereas if a buffalo decides to come running at you, it means business. And they're very, very fast, despite their size. So yes, buffalo bulls are the ones we tend to try and avoid. If we do encounter them, we very seldom, unless we're in a really nice, good, safe position, we very seldom stick around to show you them on bushwalk. Has he just gone? No, you can't. That's a good example. Imagine you're walking, just popped out on this path here. Look here. I mean, we're taller than we would be on foot. In that brief moment where he was almost invisible to us. Now he's out again. But they're probably one of the more dangerous animals to encounter. And the Duggar boys are the ones to watch out for. The old mud boys who live on their own or in small herds, in small bachelor groups. They're also very short-sighted. And they tend to run first and ask questions later, often in your direction. The nice thing about buffalo bulls, though, is that they can't climb trees. So provided you can find yourself a nice big tree or a nice big termite mound, you're probably absolutely fine. The other problem with them is that they tend to zone out almost completely, so you often surprise them. There he goes, off into the distance, and I have marvellous news for all of you. We will not just be broadcasting this afternoon from South Africa, we have also got Brent in the Mara. Oh dear, it seems as though Brent had disappeared. I spoke too soon. That is most unfortunate. Well, I'm sure they'll keep trying. He had some elephants to show you, just in case you wondered what you were going to see. And our buffalo's gone. No, he's not. I'll get him back for you. Hopefully Brent and Darby managed to find some signal somewhere. Alright, dare we try this again a second time? Picture seems to be back with Brent. Let's try heading all the way back across to the Mara.
Hi guys, welcome, sorry about that. We're back and in Kenya, in the Masai Mara. There's a big grey bottom looking at us. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have the dimpled, dangerous Dave Eastall on camera with me. How are you, Dave?
Oh, very well.
We've been trying to get down to this area for quite some time. It's called the Samaki Swamp. But even though we can get quite close on the opposite bank, it takes quite a long time to get down here. So we left extra early after lunch and came down to the Samaki Swamp. And there we go, we've got some Defasa waterbuck with a buffalo bull in the background. You can very much see the white bottom as opposed to the ringed white bottom there. Remember, this is 100% live from magical Kenya. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter if you want to ask us questions, whether it be about the waterbuck's bottom or the elephant's bottom, because it seems that's what we're showing you to start the safari. Bottoms and bums everywhere. Now, as we go across the swamp, there we go, there's a nice big bull next to us. Now, I've seen up to sort of 150 to 200 elephant on the swamp before from a distance, but today there's probably around, I don't know, 50 or so. Oh dear, I put my communication device in the wrong pocket, didn't I, Dave? And I apologize for funny noises you might have heard. So there we go, there's a nice big herd of elephants over there. Oh, sorry, monitor. And there's a huge group of water birds just to the right. There we go, there's a great white egret, woolly neck stork, Sacred ibis, also there. You can see their curved bills. And the great white egrets, the woolly neck stork off to the right. And if we look quite carefully, every now and then there's a single African open-billed stork there as well. Now, there's two reasons we've come to this vast edge of the Samaki swamp. Oh, there's a topee there in the background. Two. Hello, topee. So lots and lots happening here. Now, as I said, there's two main reasons we've come to this area. One is, of course, just these elephants in the swamp is just too beautiful. And I do love myself some lovely afternoon elephant action. As you can see, they're really enjoying the nice green grasses and sedges and reeds that are growing out of the Samaki swamp. Samaki means fish in Swahili, for those of you who are wondering. But now, Dave, if we come back across to this side, now, we've seen lots of cheetah, lots of hyena, lots of lions, only one leopard. So we actually haven't really looked for leopard too much, but we've basically driven, let me just figure out, on the edge of this tree line. Oh, where's my hand gone? On the edge of this tree line all the way around. Show everyone where we went, Jeff, all the way around. See, there we go. And we've been hoping, and this is about the closest we can get into the forest, that we might spot a leopard lounging in a tree. Alas, no luck yet, but we've still got a fair way to go down back towards the sort of west and back along the edge of the forest. I think we might have a river crossing. Hopefully it's not too deep. It doesn't look like too many people have been into this area yet, but who knows, a spotted leopard cat could be hiding somewhere around here. Oh, sorry Megs, you just have to repeat. I'm getting very soft comms from you. Ah, look there. There's one of the residents of the Mara, the buffalo. They don't migrate much. They hang around these swamps. All the birds are taking off. Oh, they're down again. Sometimes the elephants chase them. It is very, very pretty. Now, and there we go. You can see some of the birds a little bit more clearly. Now, Violet is wondering, when can we expect the great migration to start? Well, Violet, I've got some news. Violet, as of 2 days ago, I heard there were about 20 kilometers to the south in the Serengeti, and which means they could arrive as early as the 1st of June, more likely around the 15th of June, to Silas, which is about 70 kilometers to the south of there. And we've got tents there where some of us will be based during the migration. So fingers crossed they're going to arrive early. I'm excited, aren't you guys? Now, of course, before the migration arrives, we've got such and a myriad of wonderful residents in the Mara. The topi, the tomi, the grants, the elephants, the buffaloes, and of course, one thing we haven't really managed to focus on too much is the birds. So I think I'll try to find you some new bird species today. I think all of those is intermediate egrets, sacred ibis, black-headed heron. Where did the black-headed heron's gone?
Well, unfortunately, we're still ironing out our little teething problems in the Mara, so there is going to be a few gremlins creeping in and out there. We're still on our northern boundary, just going very, very slowly because it's quite difficult to see tracks at this time of the day. The sun is still quite high, and that means that there's not a really nice contrast on the road, and it becomes very sort of flattened and much harder to see what's going on. So I want to go slowly just in case these Nkuhumas did cross. The other thing about this road is that it is quite a busy road. Lots of vehicles go up and down on this road, and that means then that there's often a chance that tracks from this morning could potentially have been driven over. So that's why we're just going as slow as possible, just to try and see if we can't find anything. Other than the sort of lion search, we checked Sydney's dam. There wasn't too much going on there. It was fairly quiet around the dam itself. We scanned around. There wasn't any sign of the lions there. I would imagine they'll be lying in some sort of shade at the moment. It is warm enough for that, so we'll definitely check. And I want to go past where they had them yesterday afternoon, just in case they've maybe made their way back towards those little cubs. So hopefully we'll be in for a treat. It would be a really nice surprise if they were there. I also can't believe just how far Tingana walks, because we had him yesterday going into Simambili, and I was just thinking about it now because I was thinking about yesterday afternoon. And yesterday afternoon we had him crossing northwest into Simambili, going towards sort of the Elephant Plain Simambili cut line. And then this morning, well, midnight last night, he was already back at the dam cam, sawing away and around the staff village. So he's does a serious turn around, and then this morning they followed his tracks all the way and he went into Torchwood and was still going east in Torchwood. So the guy really can walk. So I wonder where he'll turn up this afternoon. He also seems to not be afraid of walking during the day, so maybe Tingana might pop out. And so another reason why we're checking up on this northeastern corner as well is just in case he has decided to come backward towards Buffelshoek Dam area and back to Djuma. It's interesting just to see how much sort of distance he's been doing lately and how his movement has been sort of accelerated by these young males that have been around, so Quarantine and varying others. It seems like Gajima and Quarantine and the presence of these guys are making him move quite a bit. I'm sure Mvula is also a part of that, because Mvula being in this area must be also driving Tingana mad as he comes through and finds the scent for this male leopard. Even though Mvula is not really scent marking, he still has to go to the toilet at some point, and Tingana might come across that, and it must be sort of driving him crazy that there's all these males drifting around his territory, and that's probably why he's covering such big ground and making such a noise every night. But you can see how winter is upon us. It is really quite obvious today, and it's the first day I've really noticed it. But in front of me as I'm driving along, lots of the bush willows, the leaves are starting to change from green to yellow. So you can see two trees coming up where their leaves are getting very yellow in coloration. So it's a good sign that winter is upon us and that cold weather is now gripping this area and that these leaves are going to start dropping off. The other thing this morning was that it was incredibly obvious on Quarantine just how little grass there actually is. We've all been kind of hopeful after the rain that the grass has grown very long, but in actual fact, when I was looking on Quarantine this morning, there's massive patches of dirt and sort of lack of grass. So it's going to be a tough winter ahead again. Right, onward and forward for the search. And while we do that, Jamie, I think, is playing with lizards in the water at this stage.
I have found some lizards in the water. I definitely don't want to play with either of these two, but quite an unusual sight this afternoon to see two massive monitor lizards, water monitor lizards, gathered together in the same spot. And usually when you've got two monitors of a similar size, if they are the same sex, they tend to get quite territorial and often quite vicious with each other. But these two seem to be relatively at peace with each other. Could it possibly be that we found a male and a female? It's possible. One of them is the one that we regularly see at Twin Dams. And the amazing thing is, for the last 2 years that I've been working here, we have watched his tracks, or her tracks, I assume it's a him, going all the way from Twin Dams, walking all the way north up Twin Dams to just where the Djuma Dam is placed, at the Voyatela Dam. And that's a fair distance. That's about 2 kilometers. And you see those tracks almost every single day. There's a tentative approach happening here. The one on the right, not enthralled at all. And gliding off to find another more peaceful spot. I wonder if perhaps that's not the female, who's not terribly impressed by the attentions of the male. Although the one on the right, here we go, found a nice sun patch. There's a Thicknee, a water Thicknee. I wanted to use the old name Dikop, but that bird on the right there is a water Thicknee and responsible for a lot of the calls that you hear at night on the Djuma Dam camera. I thought the interaction between the two monitors was going to be slightly more fraught with drama, but it seems as though it's just basking time. That's what Saturday afternoons are for. And monitor lizards, when they do breed, have an interesting tactic. They basically have learnt where nature has provided an incubator for them. Now, the female will go up to a termite mound and she will break into the termite mound and lay her eggs there. And the termites won't feed off her eggs, but they will go and repair the hole that she's made in their termite mound. So she goes and finds an active part, and then they basically protect her eggs for her because they close them up in the termite mound itself. I'm just listening to an update from Cheetah Plains. Afternoon, Mike. Welcome back. Sorry, everybody. You can watch the lizard while I chat to one of the other guides. Mike, what direction was that Ingwe mobile in? Okay, copy. Thanks very much, Mike. I'll make my way there shortly. A firm, got you. Right, sorry about that, everybody. Just chatting to Mike from Cheetah Plains while we look at a reptile and a bird in one shot. Obviously, those of you who are familiar with our lingo will know that I was talking about a leopard that apparently has disappeared. But the said leopard was quarantined, and I'm going to go and see if I can't find him again. Perhaps we'll get lucky on this particular Catterday. Francis, absolutely. You are not the first person to make that connection. Monitor lizards are indeed related to Komodo dragons. And they don't obviously have the same kind of hunting technique that Komodo dragons have, and they're obviously much, much smaller. They are our largest lizard, though. They are the largest lizard that we get here. And they are related to Komodo dragons relatively closely. They don't, you wouldn't want to get bitten by one, but it doesn't have the same ramifications that it does if you were bitten by a Komodo dragon with their horrible combination of toxins in their saliva. Monitor lizards are just going to give you a nasty infection and whip you with that very strong tail. Which is why watching the collective effort to try and remove the monitor lizard from our house in Hoedspruit was relatively entertaining. Oh, it comes in all shapes and sizes this afternoon, and James has found something with 6 legs.
Well, yes, something with 6 legs, everybody, as yet unidentified. Now, I was looking at a grasshopper, and Craig said, in his most excited voice, he said, "I think I've got a fly over here." So I said, "Are you sure it's a fly?" He said, "It might be a stingless bee." So I said, "No, I don't think it could." "Oh, do you really think it's a stingless bee?" He said, "No, I think it's a fly." And it is a fly. It is a hoverfly, Craig. Well done. And you will see that it is not hovering, and that is the only reason that you were able to capture it on film. Because were it to be hovering, I assure you that you would not be able to capture it, because they move with an astonishing speed from side to side, up and down. But this one is unaware that he is being observed by the great fly spotter, Craig, Batter's Batman. Now, I don't want to frighten off the grasshopper we have set up as well. Yeah, exactly, Project Alpha, you say a woolly bee fly. That could well be what it is. I'm calling it a hoverfly simply because it hovers, but I don't think that that is necessarily its official name. And I love these ones. There are quite a few of them around because they look like sort of boiled sweets that you might like to eat. This one would be a sort of, I think, a lime flavour. but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't taste like a lime-boiled sweet if I was to pop that in my mouth. He's really rather special, and I don't think from that angle you can see, but he's got a sort of long, sharp proboscis coming out the front of his nose that is not, it's sort of, I mean, I've said it's long, sharp, but it's not, it doesn't look like a nectar-feeding proboscis like the one you might find on, say, a butterfly or a moth. Craig, you want to come in here? Then you can, oh, there it's hovering. Have you got it there? I told you this would form something of a challenge. You see where it's landed there? Alright, let me show you. I'm going to put my hand above it. I'm sneaking very closer. I'm so stealthy. Oh, do you see my finger? Are you watching my finger? Here it goes. It's on the ground, just below my finger. Can you see? There? It's now an inch from my finger, Craig. I can't do this forever. Did you see it? Your silence is indicating that you did not. I think it's flown away. No, the boiled, sweet, woolly bee fly has flown away. Right, let's go to the grasshopper. Good afternoon, hot dog. Hot dog, you want to know what the most cool insect we see in South Africa is? I think that the coolest insect that we see here is either a jewel beetle or the rainbow shield bug, which is a bug of really amazing colours. It is the colours, unsurprisingly, given its name, of the rainbow. And it's sort of metallic, and it's got bright blue and purple spots on it, yellow and orange down the front. It really is an astonishingly beautiful looking thing. So that's one of my favourites. I enjoy the sawtooth flower mantid. They've got lovely subtle colours, and they're just very beautiful. And they've got purple and pink and green and white. And I mean, some of those bee species are also very special with their different colours and the way they move around. Glowworms, I enjoy glowworms or fireflies very much. But my favourite is the cicada, of course, but that's just because it makes me think of long summer days. So that there is a grasshopper. And as I've taught many of you, and I'm going to ask you a very difficult question now, I'm going to say, how old do you think this grasshopper is? Now, I don't expect you to tell me whether it is, exactly to the day or the week even, but do you think this is an... Okay, let's make this easy. So tweet through adult or instar, okay? So you go #SafariLive, adult, or instar. Instar is an immature, and tell me if you think this is an adult or an instar, because I have mentioned it a few times before, but you can tell immediately what this is from looking at it, and I shan't tell you any more than I've just told you now. Okay. Very clever of me to come up with a quiz like that. I'm sure that everybody is sore amazed. Then I found something else amongst this log, sort of small fallen down tree, and that was the last of the carrot seed grass. And Craig, do you remember the name of the carrot seed grass? It has a very nice Latin name, and I'm going to say it once more this season for you. Are you ready? Tragus berteronianus. Tragus berteronianus, and that's what this one is. And it's a horrible thing because it sticks in your socks, and you have to throw your socks away afterwards. I put on a pair that I had walked through a patch of these with today, and they are now in the dustbin. That's Tragus berteronianus. And then there was quite a nice other grasshopper here, a small brown one, but it was very small and almost invisible, and so what I'm going to do is cast my hand over here. Here we go. Now, Costa and Phil, you reckon that this is an adult. Well, Costa and Phil, I'm going to say no, it's not an adult, and I'll tell you why. In fact, let's go back to this one, Craigie, if you don't mind, and then we'll go to this tiny little thing after that. It's not an adult because it doesn't have proper wings yet. Now, some grasshoppers remain wingless for their whole lives, but many of them get wings as they get older, as they enter their final stage. Now, if you look carefully at this one, and I don't know if this is the best angle for it, I might actually try and we'll have a look at him. You can see he's got wing buds, but the buds are not fully fledged wings yet, and those wings will eventually extend to the back of his body. And once they've done that, he will be completely able to fly. At the moment, he is flightless. And they go through 7 or 8 instars before they become adults. I think it's 7 or 8. And an instar basically is an immature version of the adult. But in the case of the grasshopper, of course, they do not have wings. And those great swarms of locusts, if you ever want to see how this works, just go to that Planet Earth 2 show that they've just done, and they filmed a swarm of locusts in Madagascar. And the hoppers, which is what the youngsters are called, are found on the ground, moving in their swarms, and then only after they've matured to their final stage do they take to the air in those cloud-like swarms. So thank you very much for participating in my small quiz. I don't often do a quiz. And then, as we go down to this very, very tiny thing here, can you see it there, Craig? Because in order to link to Jamie effectively, we need to show them the smallest creature we have out here. Do you see that? Can you see it?
Yeah.
That's the very, very small grasshopper, and we're going to go from this very small grasshopper across to Jamie Patterson, who is much bigger than a grasshopper, but she has an animal, can you believe it, even larger than she.
I know, even larger than myself, which is really quite an achievement for all of the animals out here. We have a large female elephant, and it seems as though she's taken great offense to terming her large. Nope, there we go. She just wanted another leaf to eat. I wonder how many times elephants give grasshoppers a fright. I don't know why that just came into my head, but I was just thinking about all that they feed on and the number of grasshoppers around them. I suppose the grasshoppers are very good at getting out of their way. I'm happy. We've found a lot of big animals this afternoon, a big buffalo bull, and now this lovely female elephant who's giving us a gorgeous view of her trunk at work. And you can actually see, as she feeds, and Fergus managed to get us a really stunning close-up, you can actually see the bristles on her trunk. Here she goes, whipping away at the plants and now popping them into her mouth. There you go. There's her little beard growing off the bottom jaw. Elephants are a lot hairier than they look. They're not particularly furry animals, but they are covered in hair. A fine, very sparse covering. No, not fine, actually. Those hairs are very thick, but quite a sparsely distributed. And then, of course, their lovely tails. Where are you all alone, big girl? That doesn't seem right. I guess she's just a straggler. Looking at her, she seems to be a relatively old female. Not ancient, but I'd put her over 30, so she's definitely one of the mature females in this herd. And somewhere the rest of the family must be lurking. She's probably just got left behind. And not generally, but often the older elephants take a little bit longer when it comes to feeding, especially the really old females, but I don't think she's quite there just yet. She's got a lovely long right tusk and beautiful eyelashes. Here we go, enjoying some Waltheria. We're very close to a muddy wallow. I'm hoping that she might start moving in that direction. If she continues in the direction she's going in, she's going to disappear onto Little Gowrie very shortly. She looks quite wide set to me. I wonder if she's not pregnant. Awesome guy. Yes, I think elephants probably do accidentally eat insects on a relatively regular basis, especially the things that can't jump away. I'd say grasshoppers are unlikely, but something like a caterpillar or an inchworm inching its way along a plant, and they do shake the mouthfuls off. If they get a trunk full of grass, then they give it a good beating first to get rid of the dust, so that'll probably rid them of most insects. But I don't see why they wouldn't actually consume a fair amount of insects in their life. A little bit of additional protein never hurt anybody. Yes, I think they probably do, quite often. It's not intentional, but caterpillars... What else? All of the flying insects would be able to get away quite quickly. But I definitely think the crawling insects and the slower moving insects, particularly when they're eating leaves, because they don't really pay much attention. They kind of wrap their trunk around the leaves and strip the branch and put it straight in their mouths. I wonder if they taste that. I wonder if they ever eat any stink bugs. That's a horrible thought. Okay, big girl. Let's see if we get lucky. Unfortunately, it's a bit early for us to go to Chitwa Dam because the guests won't be out yet. And unfortunately, that is frowned upon as very bad manners if we go and interrupt their afternoon tea before they go on game drive. Oh, speaking of things that an elephant might accidentally eat, I believe that Tristan has found one.
Indeed, Jamie, I would imagine that a few caterpillars have succumbed to an elephant's gut in its time. Now, this one was almost being suicidal. It was going off the edge of my dashboard. You can see it's now hanging on the edge. Don't do it. It's Saturday. It's a weekend. The week is over. Don't worry. No, we've decided life is more important, and off we go. Now, our little caterpillar has been highly mobile on our dashboard. It had a little rest and now seems to be looking for something. It's going quite quickly across the front of the dashboard, and you can see how well they move. They use that sort of wavy motion, that inching motion, and as they sort of push forward, so then the legs move up, the next set of legs move up, and then they can just propel themselves forward quite easily. Now, I'm not 100% sure what butterfly or moth this caterpillar belongs to, but he's quite pretty. He's got beautiful green coloration and lots of little spots and stripes on him. And so very, very pretty indeed. You can see those fine hairs. Now, those fine hairs would be quite an irritation if they get onto you. It's going to cause a little bit of an itch. So you've got to be a bit careful. Even though it doesn't look that hairy, this guy still will have certain hairs that will make things itch and not be very comfortable at all. And you can see actually the spinnerets at the back there where it can spin silk. That's quite nice. You don't often see that on a caterpillar. Don't go off the edge. Stay where you are. I feel like this caterpillar is flirting with danger. Luckily, it's gripping to quite a sort of coarse surface. We have these canvas dashboards, and so I'm sure that's quite easy to hold on to for a little caterpillar's legs, and luckily they have more than one set of legs. Much easier to hold on when you've got multiple legs. It becomes almost like having sticky feet that you can just grip on and go where you need to. Now, I think what we might do is rescue our caterpillar and provide a grass stem that we can put it back into the bush so that it doesn't feel like it has to hang on the edge of a dashboard all afternoon, because I feel like that's going to be a very uncomfortable place for it to be. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering if these hairy the hairs that come off the body, if they sting you. Well, no, they don't sting you, but they cause irritation in your skin. So they get into your hair follicles and it just starts to really, really itch. It's not a actual sting that's going to sort of penetrate and that they have a sort of powerful injection of those hairs into you. It's more that they just get onto your skin and they have fine little hooks on them, and that gets into your follicles and it starts to really itch. And then once the hair is gone, it's actually really, really itchy still for a while afterwards. So there's probably some sort of substance that's left behind by those hairs themselves. The other thing with those hairs is that they are very, very small, as you can see there. If I put my finger with there we go. That's how big we don't want it on me, but that's how big it's actually going to be. So you can imagine how fine those hairs are. It's very, very difficult to actually see those hairs and to be able to know where they are, and so that's why the irritation carries on. See how they use their tail? It's almost like a lobster in the sea. It's the same kind of effect, basically, and the tail will push them forward as they go, or tail end, should I say. But this particular one's got quite large eyes, actually, now that I look at it. Seems like quite a decent sized eye there, and it's able to then negotiate its way around. But like I say, I'm not going to leave it hanging on the edge of this cliff forever, so we've got a little leaf here, and I'm going to put it on the leaf and then into the grass and save it. Come on, onto the leaf. There we go. Yes, you know you want to. There we go. Alright, buddy, let's put you onto the grass and get you out of here. No, don't crawl on me. I don't want hairs all over my body. There we go. I'm going to put it on a grass stalk, because otherwise in the sort of white coloured seeds it's going to stand out quite a bit, and that means that it's going to get a situation where it's going to get eaten by a bird. So rather lower down on the grass, and where it can sort of blend in a little bit. You can see there are little sections here that are a bit greener. Now we are going to probably go through a bad signal patch, so hopefully if there's a bit of breakup, I do apologize. It sometimes can get through this little dip that we're going to go through. Rather than risk it, and rather than risk the attack of gremlins, let's rather go across to James, who's also looking for small things to show all of you.
Yes, some smaller things, because there are no bigger things. We did see a waterbuck, but it ran away. Now, we've got a very sad tale here on the top of this tree. It didn't die there. I placed it there because it's easier for Craig to film there than it is in amongst the grass. That is a giant land snail that died before it became giant. In other words, it died in its youth, and one can only speculate over such things. You know, how did this snail come to its sort of sticky end, if you like, or slimy end in the case of a snail, before it had time to live to the fullness of its immensity? And as we ponder over these things, we must remember, of course, that the giant land snail is able to live up to 10 years. This one probably lived half of that, and that's, of course, very sad. But what is interesting about it, I think, is, other than... Please do not stand on the spider, Craig. You'll be in deep trouble. That's our next thing that we're doing here. What I think is quite interesting, if we look at it, is that it gives you an indication, or just an idea, of how they grow, because you seldom find them this size, and therefore you sort of think that they must almost come out of the egg the same size, at full size. And the reason I'm getting tongue-tied is I'm thinking of some of you probably don't know what I'm talking about. They're normally about that big when they get to adulthood. That's how long they are. That's why they're called a giant land snail. But they start off as a pinprick, and slowly, the shell grows bigger and bigger and bigger in the spiral. And it would just have kept getting larger and larger like that, in the sort of exponential spiral, until it attained full height at roughly 6 inches long, which I think would have been quite nice to see. But unfortunately this one was probably devoured by something taken from the flush of youth. Who knows why? Oh, right, okay. I'm going to probably hang around here. Quite a lot of interesting things going on. Before the elephants that Jamie has disappear, let's go across there and say hello to them.
Look, that one's even waving its trunk to say hello to us as well. I mean, it isn't. It's lifting its trunk at the rest of the elephants. Oh, this is going to be stunning. So James has mentioned he is going to stay where he is. I'm going to stay exactly where I am, which is sitting on the dam wall at the Chitwa waterhole. And I'm going to wait for our elephants to come and have a drink. How lovely is this? Big open area. You just can't beat moments like this with elephants. They're doing their water walk, or they were doing their water walk earlier. They've slowed down a bit now. It's their sort of excited side-to-side head sway. And it almost looks, especially because most of the time when they do it, they're going downhill towards the water. It always looks as though gravity has kind of taken over. And their excitement to have a drink. Adrian, it's a good question. Oh, look at them going. Adrian, you want to know how long an elephant could survive without water? I would say not all that long without any water at all. I mean, surely not much longer than a week or so. I'm not sure exactly the precise amount. Obviously, for the little ones, it's going to be a shorter period of time than it is for the larger ones. But water is so essential in all our metabolic processes as animals that I would say they can't survive for very long in dehydrated settings. They are water-dependent creatures. Look how excited they are. Look at the little ones. But I'm not 100% sure exactly how long that would be. What would be the longest that an elephant could survive? I would say they would start getting very weak after about a week without water. They're not really purely adapted to be completely without water. Maybe some of you know exactly how long it would be. They will drink whenever possible. So they really do enjoy a drink. Once a day at least, twice a day if they can. And Sarah, that means that they often travel quite large distances through the bush to get to water. Look at the little ones running to keep up. Water, 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 water. Hey, is that exciting? Sarah, I would say elephants could easily cover 40 kilometers in one day. Their long legs cover ground so rapidly. Although sometimes I feel a little bit sorry for the little ones that have to race at double speed. Where are you going? There's water here. Don't go all the way over there. They obviously know the best places to go and drink. They're about to collide with our Egyptian goose family, who are not impressed by this whole deal. Quick, kids. The elephants are coming into the water. There we go. Look at that female moving the algae out of her way so that she can drink the water underneath. The little one's going to take advantage of that. And they're all going to come crowding up together. Wonderful. And hopefully we're going to have some going for a swim as well. Look how enthusiastically they're drinking. They obviously were very thirsty. And they were excited about this drink. You can see it in the speed that they're sucking the water up and then transferring it into their mouths. Is that our stumpy-trunked elephant, or is that another one? She definitely doesn't have her full trunk. I mean, this could be her herd combined with another group. Typically, we only see our short-trunked elephant with 3 other elephants rather than a whole herd. I don't think it's her. I think this is a different elephant. You do find them with shortened trunks from time to time. The one that we're so fond of is not the only one. And as you can see, not disadvantaging her at all. Goodness, it's all happening this afternoon. We've got the elephants drinking, and Tristan has got hippopotamus playing.
We do indeed. They've been porpoising and chasing one another around. It's all very, very action-packed at this stage. And of course, now that you come to us, they're all going to go underwater. That's the way things go sometimes. But there's one little head poking out. And so this is Buffalo's Hook Dam pod. And there seems to be 4 of them in total that I can see. There's a big male, which is the tip of his ears that are sticking out at the moment. And then there is females bouncing around all over the place. At one point there was a young one that actually porpoised all the way out of the water. It almost looked like a dolphin shoving itself out of the water, and there was a big splash. It was quite interesting to actually see. Now I lie, that is not the male. I do apologize. It looks like a female as well. It's quite small, and you can see the distance between the eyes are not very big at all, and the head size itself is quite small. So I'd imagine that is another female, and the rest of them are on a serious mission to our left here. They seem to be going off on their own accord. I don't know where they're off to, but they're busy moving away quite quickly. And these are the 2 that were playing earlier. They were the ones that were bouncing around up and down. And I wonder if they're not just 2 younger hippos that are having a bit of a game with one another. But they're very active for this time of the day. I'm quite surprised. Generally, hippos at this time of the day are still a little bit sluggish and still spending most of their time kind of just sitting under the water and not really moving too much. But I would imagine it's because it's fairly cool this afternoon. It's not a very hot afternoon in comparison to what it was during the week. And that means that it's time just to take it a little bit easier. I suppose it is a Saturday, so it's time to party and time to move around. And so in the cooler weather, that's what's happening. And you can see that hippo is now taking advantage of the other one. It is busy resting on the back of the other one. So while the other one has to hold itself up, this one has decided that the back is a perfect resting spot. I must admit, I love when hippos flick their ears like that. It's always, there we go. It's so cool when they do that. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're asking if hippos are related to dolphins and whales. Well, I've read an article where they say that they are related to whales, not so much dolphins, but whales. And there's another article that says pigs, so it's kind of in the balance between those two, and no one's actually 100% sure. They are, these days, in their own family altogether. They're not in the same sort of family as whales or pigs, and they do their own thing completely. But they say that if you go way back, then there are some speculation that they are similar to what whales are in terms of how they look and their behavior. There comes the big male now, so we can see his head popping up. He's got a much larger head than what the others do, and he's busy spraying a bit of water out. Now, he's got his hands full, because if he's got 3 females here, then he's going to have a tough time to keep all of them together. It's not going to be very easy keeping them in here, and I would imagine now, as winter starts coming, a lot of these water holes are getting smaller and smaller, and I think he's going to get quite a bit of competition soon. Isn't that cool to be able to see the oxpeckers drinking? So you see, sometimes they actually don't feed off the hippos, but they use them as a platform to go drinking. They're almost like a bar stool for the oxpeckers this afternoon, and they'll use that because they know that when things like crocodiles are around, it's very difficult for them to drink on the edge of the water, and crocodiles can grab them. They also know that there's catfish around, and even birds of prey. There's not going to be very many birds of prey that are going to come dive bombing a big male hippo, so using a hippo to have a drink is a very, very clever idea indeed. So well done, oxpeckers. That was a very good idea. You can see he's not very awake. The eyes are drooping a little bit. Oh, hello to you too. Right, so these hippos are taking it easy now. It seems the playing has ended, so we're probably going to carry on. And while we do that, let's go across to James, who's got something with 8 legs and big sharp fangs.
A big sharp what? Yes, we have got something with 8 legs. I'm not sure what's big and sharp about it. Well, it does have a big sharp bottom, I suppose. Oh, big sharp fangs. Yes, quite big sharp fangs hath the garden orb-web spider. Now, we've shown you 150 garden orb-web spiders over the course of the summer. But what I wanted to show you about this particular garden orb-web spider, because we've caught him just before his probably imminent demise. And there is a male, and I'm going to point to him from behind. Can you see that, Craigus? You see my straw pointing? There's the male, everybody. Now, we don't often see him, because normally, of course, once he has managed to mate with the female, she will, well, eat him. And he looks to me like he's sneaking up there. Now, in the golden orb-web spider, and I'm not sure it's the same with the garden orb-web, in the golden orb-web spiders, what happens is the male is also about the same size as that male is there, and he will sneak up to her, and often he will produce a meal for her so that while she's eating, she's distracted, and he will then, well, not to put too fine a point on it, get on the job, as it were, and while she's eating, she will, in theory, not turn around and eat him. So he will try and mate with her while she's eating and then scuttle off before she's finished her meal and before she can grab him, sink her very sharp fangs into him, and then wrap him up in silk and eat him after. And I think that, it must be a completely nerve-wracking experience being a male golden or garden orb-web spider. I think back to the days of asking a girl to the, what in the States you might call the prom, but here we call the school leavers or matric dance, and how terrifying that was. I had absolutely no chance that my prospective partner was going to eat me. The worst she was going to do was say no, but now this lady here could say no and eat him entirely. So, I mean, can you imagine the level of fear that must be felt by this fellow? Anyway, I hope he doesn't get eaten. I hope that he lives on to pass further genes. Becca, you're wondering how long I think it would take to make this web. I think it would probably take about half an hour. I tell you what, from scratch, probably about an hour. Take about half an hour for all of the support threads to be set up, and then she probably have a few false starts as she starts to build the actual radial threads, the sticky radial threads. But I think about half an hour to about an hour, from complete start to finish. But she will repair it from time to time, and it's a kind of feature of the garden and golden orb-web spiders' webs that they're not very neat. They're not nearly as neat as some of the other orb-web spiders. And this one, you can see there's a hole here, and she's going to have to come and sort of fix that once she's finished the date that she's having with that male. Good luck, old fellow. While this poor chap makes his inexorable move towards the object of his affection, let us head across to the Mara, where Brent Leo Smith has managed to find many of what we found one of earlier.
Welcome back to Kenya, and we are with a lovely herd of buffalo right up on the edge of the escarpment. Now, the buffalo, when they're not down on the swamps, they really favour these seep lines that come out of the escarpment. So obviously a lot of rain fall in this area, and as the water falls down, you get these wonderful little seep lines, nice lush grass, good wallowing water. If we go a little bit to the right there, Darby, there we go. There she is, a little bit to the left. Look at her, you can almost barely see her. She's got herself a nice hole, and there's some more birds for your Kenyan bird list, the yellow-billed oxpeckers. Now, here, it's far more uncommon to see a red-billed. Oh, look at her, she's got a pink nose. It's a pink-nosed buffalo. No, wait, don't hide. There we go. Hello, you. It's a very funny looking buffalo. She seems to be coming closer to come give us an inspection. Darby, she must like those dimples of yours. That looks like just a slight sort of genetic mutation there, that pink nose. And she seems to be the only buffalo with... Oh no, there's another one with a pink nose. I wonder if it's related to her. Back to the left. There we go. In between the other two, there we go, pink nose. Second pink-nosed buffalo, a youngster as well, a young bull by the looks of things. That's quite sweet. I wonder if that's your mom with the pink nose. There we go, Pinky and Pinkette. There you go. Quite possibly something like that might mean they are related. Oh, look at the little one! Hello, sweetness! You've even got mud on your head. There's a tiny little buffalo calf walking towards us. Oh, it's so small. But it doesn't have a pink nose. No, shame. Oh, isn't this just beautiful? So we're driving in an area that isn't often utilized, judging by the road. Can you show everyone the road there? That is the road. Wait, don't come around a bit. Let me just check my monitor. Okay, see that? Oh, wait, there. Oh, there. That's the road going straight into the buffalo. So we've been exploring, obviously, and we've come across quite a few of these roads that aren't very often used, but they are proving to be quite spectacular. And also it's quite nice to be the only people out here. Probably a good 100, 150 or so buffalo here. And a hammerkorp. Here we go, another one for the Kenya bird list. Now we do see them at Djuma, but I think this is the first time they've been on camera in Kenya. Lots and lots of oxpeckers as well. Oh, shame piece. Man, the little guy just made a noise. There you go, he's really coming close to inspect us. With Pinkette. the female with the pink nose, and I think we'll keep Pinky as the male with the pink nose. I think it's probably because we've been sitting here for a good 10 or 15 minutes. That they're just got quite used to us, so they're just coming to have an inspection. And you can see some of them lying down, so they're getting more comfortable in our presence again. As you can just hear the amount of oxpeckers. I'm trying to see a red-billed, but so far only yellow-bills. Just a very peaceful scene up on the low part of the Ololo escarpment. Sorry, Megs, can you just send that question again? Sorry, I'm having a bit of a problem with my earpiece. There's a yellow-billed oxpecker. James is wondering why the yellow-billed oxpecker is more common in the Mara than the red-billed. Well, James, is very interesting in question. So, I mean, as soon as you move out of South Africa, even into Botswana and places like that, the yellow-bills do become more common. I mean, you see them on donkeys and cows on the edge of the Okavango. I think it could be the fact that, the red-billed oxpecker in this area, I mean, they're not uncommon here. It just seems that the yellow-bills are more common, and that just could be because of the big game that we get here. A lot more sort of large mammals, buffalo, and of course the big herd of wildebeest. And I'm just going to have a quick look at their distribution in Kenya. And they're pretty well covered in comparison. And I know in South Africa the yellow-bills were more commonly associated with cattle, and the dip that was used on the cattle actually was what really gave the yellow-bills a big knock. The red-bills were more generally associated, not to say they don't go on to cows and buffalo and big game, but they were more associated with your smaller wild animals, kudu, impala, wildebeest and stuff. So I think a lot of the yellow-bills took a whack by eating poisoned ticks from insecticides that were used to prevent tick-borne diseases in cattle. Of course, that's changed. The yellow-bills are making quite a good comeback in South Africa, but I can't really say why there's more yellow-bills than red-bills. It's just something I've noticed. Have you seen a red-billed yet, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Let's try at the back there.
Back, we got a big group. Oh.
There we go. There's a yellow. There's a female. There's a yellow feeding a juvenile. Watch this. Watch. You might give it a tick. Come on, give it a tick. Oh, maybe there's two babies there with mom and dad. I'm just trying to see where there are more oxpeckers. They seem to be further at the back. Okay, let's go a little bit to the right. There we go. Some there. That female there seems to have quite a lot right at the back on her. It's also yellow-bills and another juvenile. I have seen red-bills. Oopsie, there go my binos. I have seen red-bills. It's not like they're not here, but I just haven't seen many of them. Hello, Melissa. Melissa would like to know how to identify a male or female buffalo. Melissa, aren't you very lucky, because we are with male and female buffalo. Okay, let's find an impressive specimen of manhood who's looking at us rather than looking away from us. Is that a third buffalo with a pink nose? That is a third buffalo with a pink nose. Well, let's start on her. It is a female. So when you look at her horns, you can see that she does have a little bit of a boss. She's quite an old female, and you can see that the top of her horns aren't very developed. And okay, well, just keep going to the right from her. There's a young bull there. A little bit more. There he is. That's the one. Now you can see that's even a young bull. So he's what we call a soft bossed bull. You can still see that middle section of the horns. There's still hair growing there, so it hasn't sort of hardened yet. Now on a big adult buffalo bull, that whole section will be almost solid like a rock, and they need that big boss for banging into each other when they're fighting over females. Now let's see if we can see a nice big bull who's not hiding. You see one, Darby? the guy doing the Fleming grimace. Oh, no, he's still quite young. Oh, no, the guy's doing Fleming grimace, put his head down already. Yes, but there's a nice bull. What is happening with my monitor? Sorry, I lost the picture there. Okay, there we go. So there we go. That's a bit of an older bull, the one Derby, there we go, that you got there in the middle. And you can see that boss is slowly coming together, but you can still see there is some hair growth there. Now, where is an older statesman of the buffalo herd? Okay, where are you hiding? Yes, come on. I know you're in here somewhere. I saw quite a few big bulls. Let's have a look out the back. Right at the back. Okay. Let's see where you're. A little bit to the left. There we go. There's a hard-bossed old boy right at the back there. You can see those horns are much more massive. They are a bit bigger as well, quite a bit bigger in some cases. The males are far more muscular than the females, but the easiest way to tell them apart is definitely by their horns. The males with those very big pronounced bosses, and the females with the less pronounced bosses that don't really join in the center. I think these buffalo are going to nap here for the evening. It looks like a good spot. They got water. They've had a nice feed along this lovely green grass on the seep line. Look at her in the wallow. Now that is a comfortable buffalo. Oh, argument going on in the middle there, and that's quite common in the buff herds. But as you can see in the center, a lot of them are settling down for the evening, and well, we're very lucky because we're going to go from a lovely big herd of buffalo here in the Masai Mara in Kenya. Remember, we're still live, to a herd of something even bigger back at Djuma with Tristan.
Well, Brent, not quite just yet. We are on our way there, so we believe there's lots of Ellies on the dam cam, so I'm trying to get that way. I'm just going along Central at the moment. Full bumble through the afternoon. Fantastic, but I am looking forward to a nice big herd of elephants. We've had so many elephants over the last few weeks that in the last day or two has been a little bit quiet on the elephant front, so I'm looking forward to catching up with our pachyderm friends, and hopefully they'll be in fine fettle as they play around in the afternoon sun at Garu Dam, and hopefully they haven't disappeared by the time I'm going a little quicker than I was earlier. But it's been a beautiful afternoon, and we've been all things Masai Mara and Kenya, because I've got Jandre on the back, and so Jandre has been deeply involved in sourcing all of the equipment and the trials and tribulations of getting everything ready for Kenya. It sounds like it's been a tough few weeks trying to get everything through customs, but we're making progress, which is good. And the fact that we can actually get these visuals all the way from the Masai Mara with the visuals from Djuma just absolutely astounds me. And the Masai Mara seems to be a wonderful place. It's already providing huge amounts of quality sighting, so it's very cool, and I'm glad Brent is enjoying himself up there. I haven't had a chance to chat to him in the last few days, but you kind of get updates from Jamie every now and then, and I suppose I should actually phone him at some point. It's quite strange not having Brent around. I was talking to Jamie about it. Brent and I have spent a considerable amount of time together over the last few months. Well, I mean, last few years actually. The last 2 years, we pretty much used to see each other every sort of 2-3 days while I was at Simambili. He often used to come around. Then we lived together for a while, and then obviously across this side, spent a while with him here too. So it's been very odd not having him around. It's definitely a duller day when without Brent Leo Smith. He's quite a character, and as you all know, and so it'll be good to catch up with him again at some point. Right, so we're still getting towards the dam. We're not too far away now, and we'll try and head up that way, and hopefully the elephants will still be there. While we do that, let's go across to James Henry, who hopefully is not being like an elephant and swimming in a dam of his own.
I'll certainly not be swimming in any dam, only because it's winter, of course. Otherwise, definitely I'd be thrashing around in this dam. No, I wouldn't. It would be dangerous and silly, because there might be a crocodile in here. You just never know. Also, a terrapin might bite me on my bottom, which would be very unpleasant. There are 2 Egyptian gooses, and they were swimming very peacefully in the water, but unfortunately I think they've taken slight offence to Craig's hat. And so they've got out of the water and climbed up onto the bank, where they feel it will be easier, I think, to take off if Craig should stand up and start to attack them for some reason. Now, of course, Craig's hat is that of a gangster, really. It's got one of those sort of flat peaks on the top, kind of thing that looks like you could rest your coffee cup on it quite successfully and keep walking. And that's why the geese have got out of the dam. And, sorry, I'm finding myself hugely amusing. There is a buffalo around here somewhere. Apparently Jamie had one here a bit earlier. Was it at this dam? Treehouse Dam? No, it was at Treehouse Dam. So we did hear about a buffalo here. I didn't know it was the same one that Jamie had. So we are keeping our eyes very wide open. We don't want to be set upon by a buffalo. Rex is just over there having a look. Then we also have 2 very upset blacksmith lapwings. And I say they're very upset because they took off immediately as we got here and flew around making their loud sort of tinking call, and now they seem to have settled down slightly and they're carrying on with their foraging. And I'm not sure when they breed, but I think no, I think it's in the summer. I don't think they breed now, but they could have had eggs around here. Perhaps they do. We'll have a look. Right, Tristan has made it to the other waterhole where he has got, of course, the herd of elephants.
We have indeed, and I'm quite grateful because I came over the dam wall and I didn't see anything. I thought our herd had left us and had gone into the thickets and behind the dam wall, but it seems that they are still here, and it's now time for a dust bath. So there's a number of babies that are actually lying down. I can see one that's just between all of the others where they're dust bathing at the moment, and shame, that poor baby must be getting absolutely covered. There he is. You can see lying down in amongst all the legs there. There's a young elephant having a bit of a nap. What are you doing, little one? You're being covered in dust by your mom's feet. Look, you can see it's pushing mom's foot away. I wonder if it's saying, stop that. That's not very comfortable. I don't want dust in my face. But you're getting it anyway, little one. You are being smothered by your mother. You are not getting away with it at all. And I think it's all just been too much, really. That looks like an elephant calf that just wants to have a little rest. Let's see if it decides to get up. But this is so cool. There's just dust everywhere. It almost looks like the elephants are steaming, and particularly the ones to our right here where the light is a little bit more kind of on them. They look as though there's just sort of steam cloud coming off them as they bathe. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So they will often do this after they've been in water. They'll go to the nearest sort of soft sand and they throw it on them, and that's because it will stick to this wet skin that they've now got and the mud that they've put on themselves, and that will just help to keep the skin in good condition, helps keep the temperature at a nice sort of value, and it also gets rid of any of the parasites that they might have, because once that sticks, they then go and rub up on a tree or some sort of abrasive surface, and that will just get rid of all of those parasites. But it's really, really pretty. If this was maybe half an hour later, the light would have been insane, because we would have had that gold light filtering through that dust as the elephants threw it, which would have been quite amazing. This is a really nice herd. It's quite a large herd. There's quite a big number of them, and I'm surprised to actually see as many as there are here. I would have thought it was a bit smaller, because I saw their tracks coming up to the dam and I didn't think it was quite as large as this. And it seems like they've decided it's now time to move. You can see one female is moving with a young one, and all the rest now are starting to go. And it just amazes me how elephants use these visual cues and probably communication that we can't hear, as to say, right, enough dust bathing, it's now time to start moving. Is really, really cool. Lots of little babies in this herd as well. Most of these small ones, well, that one that was lying down and is now resting its foot, is probably, I would say, not even a year old at this stage. Oh, careful your head, you're about to get pooped on. That's not ideal. Yeah, so you've got to be careful out here when siblings are lifting their tail. You don't want to be moving underneath. Oh, wait, there we go. No, avoided disaster. Well done. The other day I saw an elephant walking like that, and its mother just dropped a ball of dung on top of its forehead, and it stuck there, and it wouldn't actually go away. It was quite funny. Oh, and it's Fang's herd, and Fang is having a rest on the side here, which is very cool. She's just sitting down. There we go. There's Fang. So for those of you who don't know Fang, she's this female with this tusk that grows backwards underneath her chest, and she seems to be just having a little afternoon pose. She almost looks like she's posing for a swimsuit shot in the late afternoon light. Yes, we are getting your best side, Fang. Thank you for that. Oh, there we go. Up she stands. There we go. Isn't she spectacular? She's one of the most beautiful females. She's so big and with that prominent tusk, and I really like her herd. Her herd is so relaxed around us, and we've had so many special sightings with this particular elephant. So while we enjoy Fang's herd and we sit with them in this afternoon, because it seems like they're just going to spread out and feed in the beautiful afternoon light, let's go across to Jamie, who I think has got an elephant of her own.
I do, and we just had to show you this really, truly stunning, stunning image of an elephant bull feeding in the afternoon light. So it's been an elephant-filled cat-a-day. We'll have to make sure that we get some cats towards the end, but I for one, will never complain when there's an elephant. Thanks, boy. Just released some of the products of digestion in the opposite of a burp. And he's just moved that dead piece of sort of fallen branch off the grass, because that's where all of the protected fresh green grass and fresh green plants are going to be. And the lovely thing is he's walking amongst wild aniseed, and while we're sitting here the smell is actually wafting back over to us. We've got the smell of elephant and the smell of aniseed, which is a really lovely combination. Oh, you should have shaken that off, boy. That is a serious... he wasn't planning on eating it, that's why. Moving the broken branch out of his way. And this is the perfect spot, because there's a pipe that runs from here to 3 in a row pan, and there's often water here, so the plants are much, much cleaner, much greener. Can you just repeat that name for me, Megan? Sorry, I just want to make sure I got that right. King Quad. King Quad, I've never seen an elephant cough. I don't know if they can. That is a really good question. We've spoken before about elephants hiccuping. We've spoken before about them vomiting. But can they cough? I guess they probably can, but I've never seen it before. Seen them sneeze, certainly, to try and get the air out or the dust out of their trunks. I've never seen an elephant cough. We know, of course, that their lungs are attached directly to their chest wall, sort of the inside of their chest wall. So there's no space, there's no pleural fluid, and there's no pleural space between the membranes of their lungs and the inside of the chest or inside of the ribs. But does that mean they can't cough? I really don't know. Do any of you know if elephants can cough? I guess they must be able to. I mean, a cough is really just a contraction of muscles and the contraction of a diaphragm. Why don't you send that through on #SafariLive on Twitter? Well, who knows? Tristan is also with elephants, and perhaps he has seen an elephant cough before.
Well, Jamie, I'm just trying to think about that, and I don't think I actually have seen an elephant cough before. So that's quite an interesting one. I'm not sure that I have. Just trying to think back about that. But no, I don't think I actually have heard an elephant cough. I've heard them splutter and blow their trunks and get rid of mucus out of their trunks, but never actually cough. So that's quite an interesting phenomenon. Never really thought about it either. I suppose it does happen. And you can see Fang is just majestically striding. We went down nice and low so we could get this sort of ground level view of her moving through the grass. And isn't that beautiful as she strides off? It would be nice if she was facing the other way and coming towards us, but it's still very, very, very pretty. It's as majestic as you're going to get, and that sort of scene out of Africa of that grass and this big elephant striding through it really is very cool indeed. Now the whole herd is starting to just move up towards quarantine, so it should be very pretty. Nilya, you're wondering why the tusk is growing in a different direction. Well, it's just an abnormality. So it might have been when she was younger. For some reason, she used that tusk and it kind of twisted and turned in the actual sort of gum line, and that's why it's now grown in the odd way. Or it could just be a defect of that particular tooth. So as people, we have teeth that grow in odd directions, and so it can sometimes happen. I've seen it with elephants before. There's quite a few elephants that have tusks that grow in odd directions like this, but she's probably one of the most prominent ones that we have in this area, just because of how long her tusk has actually gotten. Now, they are starting to disappear a little bit, so I want to try to keep up with them. So I'm just going to turn around and try and get myself back with the herd itself. Like I say, we were sort of down much lower than them because I just wanted to get that sort of eye level shot and get that lower sort of feeling, just to show you how big they actually feel. I often find when you get a bit lower with elephants, they feel a lot sort of larger than what they actually are. Now it's a little bit bumpy where we are. The elephants have done a bit of work on this, and also with the amount of sort of rain that we've got, and the soil that we're on here is very, very sort of soft, so it gets eroded quite quickly and you get these striations. So I do apologize if the camera is bouncing around a little bit.